thermometer in that atmosphere, 50 degrees Celsius atmosphere. Again, it has to show 50 degrees Celsius. Third case, you have to remove that thermometer. Again, you have to make reading as 0 or other than 50 degrees Celsius. Immediately, you have to keep that thermometer in the 50 degrees Celsius atmosphere. Again, it has to show 50 degrees Celsius. So, if your sensor is accurate and it has precision characteristic, it has to reproduce the same value for the same quantity for the same conditions. Produce the same accuracy and precision are very important static characteristics for any sensor. We have to choose the sensor which has accuracy and precision static characteristics. So precision we can define as ability of the sensor to reproduce same value for the same quantity for the same conditions. Repeatability. The repeatability is the closeness of agreement between successive results obtained with the same method under the same conditions and in a short time interval. Quantitatively, the repeatability is the minimum value that exceeds with a specified probability, the absolute value of the difference between two successive readings obtained under the specified conditions. If not stated, it is assumed that the probability level is 95%. So students, so repeatability, how we have to understand means you have sensor A and sensor B and you are measuring temperature. Assume that temperature is known and it is 50 degrees Celsius and sensor A is showing 48 degrees Celsius and sensor B is showing 40 degrees Celsius. And how we have understood precision, we have to remove that sensor and we have to make the reading other than the 48 or 50 or 40 degrees Celsius. And again, immediately we have to keep that thermometer in the 50 degrees Celsius atmosphere. So if you have sensor A and sensor B, in case A, it's shown 48 and sensor B shows 40. And case 2, it has shown 46 degrees Celsius sensor A and again sensor B 40. And case 3, it has sensor A shown 55 degrees Celsius. What do you have to understand? Sensor A is not accurate and it does not have precision static characteristic. Sensor B is not accurate, precision, but it has repeatability characteristics. So repeatability we can understand and we can define as if the sensor has the ability to reproduce a reading for the same quantity, for the same conditions, even though that reading is not accurate. But the precision, how to understand? It should be, it has a capability that it can reproduce a value which is near to the true value. But repeatability, in repeatability, we won't discuss accuracy and precision, but repeatability is the ability of the sensor to repeat the same value for the same conditions. There is no necessary to have accurate readings in the repeatability, but whereas in the precision should give repeated values and they should be accurate. Reproducibility is nearly equal to repeatability, but you have to switch off entire plant and after taking some gap like 3 hours or 6 hours or 24 hours, again you have to run that plant, again you have to run that experiment and you have to recreate the same condition and you have to use same sensor. So yesterday you have performed one experiment, you have used one sensor, it has shown one value. And today again you repeated that experiment and you are using same sensor, it has to show same value. Tomorrow also, if you repeat the same experiment and if you recreate the same conditions, the sensor should show same value. So this is called reproducibility. Accuracy, precision, repeatability, and reproducibility are very, very important static characteristics. Accuracy is the ability of the sensor to show a reading which is close to the true value. Precision, it is the ability of the sensor to repeat the same value which is nearly equal to the true value. Repeatability, repeatability is the ability of the sensor to reproduce same value even though there is no accuracy. And reproducibility, if you recreate the same conditions, the sensor should show same reading for the same quantity. So these four are the very, very important static characteristics, students. I'm giving you 2 minutes time to go through the slides. And after 2 minutes, we will continue the topic. Sensitivity, the next static characteristic. The sensitivity or scale factor is the slope of the calibration curve, whether it is constant or not along the measurement range. For a sensor in which output y is related to the input x by the equation at point xa is given as s of xa is equal to dy by dx. It is desirable in sensors to have high and if possible constant sensitivity. So sensitivity is nothing but to reaction of the sensor for the variation of the parameter, students. So if you take a pressure sensor and if you are keep on increasing the pressure on a surface, that sensor should react to that variation in pressure. If it is rigid or if it is not responsive, for that pressure variation, there is no need to use that sensor. So sensitivity we can give definition as ratio between the variation in output with to the variation in input. So here you can see the equation dy by dx, y is output, x is input. So small variation in output because of the small variation in input. If you consider any curve in an experiment or in any plant, so this is the equation for the sensitivity dy by dx at one particular time. Their input value is XA. Sensitivity is the reaction of the sensor for the variation in parameter. Linearity. The linearity describes the closeness between the calibration curve and specified straight line. So students, here you can see different types of calibration curves and different types of linearity curves. Dotted line is the actual variation of the parameter, and different instruments have given different responses for the variation in input. Different calibration curves for different instruments. Independent linearity. The straight line is defined by the least square criterion. First curve, students. The straight line is defined by the least square criterion. With this system, the maximal positive error and the minimal negative error are equal. This is the method that usually gives the best quality. So here, students, you can see if the dotted line is the variation in an input, that if the dark line is the response of the sensor, here we have positive error and here we have negative error below the dotted line and above the dotted line. Zero-based linearity. The straight line is also defined by the least square criterion, but with the additional restriction of passing through zero. So here we have second one, that is zero-based linearity. Terminal-based linearity. The straight line is defined by the output corresponds to the lower input and the theoretical output when the higher input is applied. Here you can see the variation in the dark line. Endpoint linearity. The straight line is defined by the real output when the input is the minimum of the measurement range and the output when the input is the maximum. In brackets, you can see FSO. FSO is a short form for the first order system. Theoretical linearity. The straight line is defined by the theoretical predictions when designing the sensor. So linearity we can understand by taking practical examples, students. If you are using thermometer and if you are keep on changing the temperature, the reading on the thermometer should change. So if you are increasing temperature, reading should increase. If you are decreasing temperature, reading should decrease. So the relationship between the variation of the parameter and the reading variation. should be linear. If you are increasing temperature, if the thermometer reading stays at one point, there is no meaning using that thermometer. You have to change that thermometer. So whatever is the sensor you are using for measuring a parameter value, that sensor should have linearity. If you increasing parameter value, sensor output should increase. If you are decreasing parameter value, sensor output should decrease. Resolution, threshold, and hysteresis. The main factors that influence linearity are resolution, threshold, and hysteresis. The resolution is the minimal change of the input necessary to reproduce. The resolution is the minimal change of the input necessary to produce a detectable change at the output. When the input increment is from 0, then it is called threshold. The hysteresis refers to the difference between two output values that corresponds to the same input, depending on the direction of successive input values. So students, here we have three characteristics: resolution, threshold, hysteresis. Resolution we can understand by taking a simple scale. So usually in our daily life we use scales. Some scales are 6 inches, some scales are 12 inches. So other side we have centimeters. By using that scale, the least length, we can measure is 1 mm. The normal scale which we use in our daily life, it has centimeters and millimeters. The least reading, so the least length, smallest length that we can measure by using that scale is 1 millimeter. If we want to measure a length which is less than 1 millimeter, we cannot use that scale. So resolution of that scale is 1 millimeter. So in the same way, if you have a voltmeter, and if your voltmeter is measuring 1 millivolt, if that is the least value that you can measure by using that voltmeter, and that is the resolution of your voltmeter, 1 millivolt. If you have other voltmeter which has 0.1 millivolt, if you have 0.1 millivolt as the least reading on that voltmeter, so that is your resolution. So resolution we can define for that sensor as the least reading that we can measure by that sensor. And what is threshold? Threshold is the maximum value that which cannot be measured by that reading, which is less than the resolution. Maximum value that cannot be measured by that sensor, which is less than that resolution. So if you take the scale, the least length that you can measure is 1 millimeter, and less than that 1 millimeter you cannot measure. So that is the threshold of that scale. And how to understand hysteresis? Hysteresis is a negative or a disadvantage of that sensor. If you are using a sensor for in an experiment, and if you keep on increasing the parameter values, and if you are keep on decreasing the parameter values, some sensors will show hysteresis property. So hysteresis is defined as the inability of the sensor to reproduce same value in two directions. When it is showing a reading from low value to high value as X, and if you are decreasing that value, at that point again it has to show that reading as X. It should not show less than X or greater than X. if you are doing experiment and if you are keep on increasing one parameter and if you are keep on decreasing that parameter, if you are using a sensor, that sensor should show parameter reading as accurately in both the directions. While you are increasing, while you are decreasing, for the same parameter, you have to show your sensor should show same value. That is called hysteresis. If it is showing same value, we can say that sensor does not have hysteresis characteristic, but it is showing different values in two directions. We can say hysteresis is a disadvantage for that sensor. So students, accuracy, precision, repeatability, reproducibility, sensitivity, linearity, resolution, threshold, hysteresis, all these are static characteristics of a sensor or a measurement system. Accuracy is the ability of the sensor to show or to measure the parameter which is equal to true value. Precision, ability of the sensor to reproduce same value for the same quantity for the same conditions. Repeatability, it is also ability of the sensor to repeat the same value, but there is no condition to have accuracy in this repeatability. Reproducibility, ability of the sensor to reproduce same value for the same conditions at different times. Sensitivity, speediness of the sensor to react with the variation in the parameter. Linearity, there should be linear relationship between the physical parameter and the measurement system. Resolution, the least value that measured by the measurement system. Threshold, the maximum value that cannot be measured by the measurement system, which is less than resolution. Hysteresis, showing different values for the same quantity for the same value in two different directions. That is called hysteresis. So students, go through the static characteristics for 2 minutes. We'll go to the next topic. These are very, very important topic in this first module. Static characteristics of a measurement system or sensor. All these static characteristics are very, very important to choose a sensor. Go through the static characteristics for 2 minutes. Next, we'll move to the next topic. After understanding static characteristics, students, we have to focus on the dynamic characteristics of the measurement system. The sensor response to variable input signals differs from that exhibited when input signals are constant, which is described by static characteristics. The reason is the presence of energy storing elements such as inertial elements and capacitance. The dynamic characteristics are the dynamic error and speed of response. The dynamic characteristics are the dynamic error and speed of response. They describe behavior of a sensor with applied variable input signals. The dynamic error is the difference between the indicated value and the true value for the measured quantity. When the static error is zero, it describes the difference between a sensor's response to the same input magnitude, depending on whether the input is constant or variable with time. The speed of response indicates how fast the measurement system reacts to changes in the input variables. A delay between the applied input and the corresponding output is irrelevant from the measurement point of view. But if the sensor is part of a control system, the delay may result in oscillations. So students, here what we have to understand is, till now we have discussed static characteristics. In static characteristics, we have to apply a stable input, a constant input. If you want to vary input, you have to change only magnitude. But if you are using an input which has a frequency and which has oscillations, and if you are applying an input to the sensor which has oscillations, then we have to focus on the dynamic characteristics of the measurement systems or sensor. If your input is constant and if you are changing only magnitude, then we have to understand only static characteristics. But if you are using an input which has frequency and which has oscillations, then we have to focus on the dynamic characteristics. We don't know which type of input we use in different experiments. So you have to understand both static and dynamic characteristics of the sensor. First type of system is zero order system. In zero order system, we don't have any storing energy storing devices. We have a simple resistor. This is one type of example. We can take mechanical systems also. Here I am taking electrical system, a voltage source and a resistor. And here you can see arrow mark. This is called potentiometer, that is variable resistor. If you change the position of the pointer, you have different resistances. Dynamic characteristics of zero order measurement systems. The output of a zero order sensor is related to its input through, and the output of a zero order sensor is related to its input through an equation of the type y of t is equal to k into x of t. Here x of t is input, k is the constant. What is this constant? Sensitivity, static sensitivity of the system. So here we can define output as y of t is equal to k into x of t. If you have variation in input, directly you can get different outputs. Its behavior is characterized by its static sensitivity k and remains constant regardless of input frequency. Hence, its dynamic error and its delay are both zero. Its behavior is characterized by its static sensitivity k and remains constant regardless of input frequency. Hence, its dynamic error and its delay are both zero. And if we take this practical example, students, equation we can rewrite as y is equal to VR into x divided by xm. What is this x? The total resistance. What is this xm? The variation in the resistance. Y is equal to VR into x divided by xm, where x lies between 0 and xm. So xm is the overall resistance and x is the resistance which we obtained from the pointer. If we change your pointer, you can get variation in resistance. So zero order system we can define by using a linear potentiometer electrical system, and zero order system output equation is y of t is equal to k into x of t. Next system, students, first order measurement system. First order measurement system means we have one energy storing device and one energy dissipating device. In first order system, we have one energy storing device and one energy dissipating device. The relationship between the input x of t and the output y of t is described by a differential equation with the form of a1 dy of t divided by dt plus a naught y of t is equal to x of t. Here x of t is the input. Here x of t is the input and y of t is output. And a1, a0s are obtained from the energy storing device and the energy dissipating device. And this equation we can rewrite by using mathematical derivations, and it will come as by using y of s by x of s is equal to k divided by ts plus 1. Here k is called as a static sensitivity and tau is called as system time constant. Y of s is output, x of s is input. The relationship between the output and input is called transfer function. So the first order system transfer function we can derive as k divided by ts plus 1. K is static sensitivity and T is time constant. K is depending on first device, that is A naught. Tau is depending on both the devices, energy storing devices and energy dissipating device. So tau can be derived from A1 divided by A naught. So here students, we have graphical information about the first order system. If you use three different types of inputs, unit step input, unit ramp input, and sinusoidal signal. So dotted line shows input and dark line shows its respective output. Go through this slide, students, I will explain. So graphs shows input and output response curves. First figure shows response curve for the unit step input, and second graph shows response curve for the unit input. Here you can see X line. X line is the input and its corresponding output form. And here dotted line is the input, dark line is the output. And if you apply sine wave as input to that measurement system, we have to consider two forms of outputs. First one is amplitude modulus and second one is phase modulus. These two figures, see figure have two graphs. Two graphs shows the amplitude modulus and phase modulus. Equations we can derive by using a few formulas. No need of derive now. So here we can have table. We can derive dynamic error and delay of the three different types of systems. First one is if you apply step input. Second one is if you apply ramp input. If you apply sinusoidal input. This is called dynamic error. If you apply step input, you don't have any dynamic error. If you apply ramp input, you have dynamic error as R of t. And in both cases, you have time constant t. What is time constants? Delay. delay between variation in input and measurement system. And if you apply sine wave as input, dynamic error will be 1 minus 1 divided by square root of 1 plus omega square t square, and omega is called as omega c, angular frequency. Omega is angular frequency. The two values for the dynamic error for an input ramp corresponds respectively to different definitions. Here we can see ED is equal to y of t minus x of t, or ED is equal to y of t minus k x of t. So that we have here two equations, r into tau or r into t plus k tau minus 1. So these are two different formulas for the dynamic error. Examples of first order system. A normal thermometer system, we can give example for first order system, students. By analyzing this thermometer system, we can understand the dynamic error and time constant. If we assume that the sensor does not lose any heat, for example, through its leads, and that its mass does not change. If we call Ti its internal temperature when the external temperature is Te, we have equations like this. If you apply Laplace transform, you will get 1 divided by 1 plus tau s. These derivations are not necessary, but here what we have to understand is first order system. Practical example, we can take a thermometer system. Second order system. So in first order system, we have one energy storage element and one energy dissipating element. In second order system, we have two elements which can store energy and one element which can dissipate energy. Second order system is similar to first order system, students, but in first order system we have one element for energy storage and another element for the energy dissipation. But here in second order system we have two elements for energy storing and one element for energy dissipating. And this is the equation for the second order system. Here x of t is input, y of t is output. A0, A1, A2 will be depending on components which we are using in second order system as energy storing elements and energy dissipating elements. If you apply Laplace transform, you will get transfer function as y of s divided by x of s as k omega n square divided by square plus 2 sigma omega ns plus omega n square. And each constant's values we can get as depending on the components which we are using in the second order system. Sigma is called as damping ratio and omega is called as angular frequency. And K is called as static sensitivity constant. Students, here we have different graphs. As we have graphs in the first order system, this graph for the step input represented with dotted line. And this graph is for the ramp input. Ramp input is X line. And these two are for the sine wave. So in the same way, we have response graphs for the second order system. See, students, dotted line is the step input and dark lines are the response curves. But here we have multiple curves because we are using different systems with different damping ratio values. If sigma is 1, this line is the response curve. If sigma is 2, this line is the response curve. If sigma is 0.1, the first line is the response curve. If this is the step input. And here we can see response curve for ramp input. X of t line is ramp input. And here we have response curve. And similarly, if you apply sine wave, we have to analyze response in two forms, angular modulus form and phase form, phase modulus form. And these two graphs shows outputs of the system. These two graphs shows outputs of the system. Here we have inputs and here we have output equations. Depending on the damping ratio values, we have three different output equations. If sigma lies between 0 and 1, this is the output equation. If sigma is equal to 1, this is the output equation. If sigma is greater than 1, this is the output equation. In the ramp input case also, we have three different cases. If sigma lies between 0 and 1, if sigma is greater than 1, if sigma is equal to 1. So go through the slide, students, for 2 minutes. Next we'll continue.